Yeah, so every day, every morning, we get out our daily roundup. We try and highlight every score in the state from the day prior, and then we try and write up as many games as possible, talking about the game recap, players that stood out, things like that. So keep an eye out for that every morning. We try and highlight and do the best that we can for these schools. But we're going to talk about some nuggets from the daily roundup here on the podcast. So we'll each kind of go through, talk about like standout teams or names or players from the state from last week that maybe had a good performance. So go ahead if you guys got anything off the bat.
Yeah, I can lead us off. And just as I kind of peruse the daily roundup every day and see what's going on, keeping my eyes on the entire state. And that's what I love about the daily roundup is it's like we touch on every team throughout the entire state, no matter the level. But one bat that we were pretty high on coming out of the winter, I wanted to see if he would play varsity, how he would do. But Will Steffens, first baseman, a 2028 at Barrington, was one that caught my eye just looking at like different daily roundup days. But from last Monday, so this would be March 23rd. We're throwing it way back. He had 3 home runs in a Barrington loss to Hananega. But then as I'm kind of looking through, like I'm keeping my eyes on Barrington. All right, how's Will doing? Did he do anything else? Well, this past Friday in a win over Burlington Central, he went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles, a home run, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs scored. So, that's a very easy way to kind of get us on our radar. Like we need to go see, first off, we need to see Barrington. But to make it a point to go see Will Steffens and shout out Will. Awesome start to the year here, hitting for power, also hitting for a high average. Just a 2028 left-handed hitter to note.
Yeah, I mean, a nugget on Owen Nolte, a freshman at Mattoon, sorry. He threw a no-hitter in his first varsity start. He threw 6 innings, struck out 10, and didn't walk anyone. So impressive outing there for Owen in his first start as a varsity baseball player.
Boom. I'll get back on here, and I'm gonna take it to this week. So on Monday of this week, I thought one of the biggest games to come through on the ticker in the daily roundup here was Lockport, who had a tough year, or a tough start to the year, I should say. As far as record is concerned, we kept them in the Power 25. We like them. We got to see them in person. But they knocked off number 4 Brother Rice 8-3 in the opening round of the Do It Stevie's Way tournament, which I think is a very, very big win. One notable prospect is senior outfielder Adam Kozak for Lockport. He's a Lewis commit. He was part of our senior future games this past summer, which, like, that event just gets me more and more fired up as we've seen all these senior future gamers, whether they commit or just like really have elevated themselves since that event. But Adam Kozak hit 2 home runs, went 3 for 4 with 3 runs scored, and kind of a big bounce back win there for Lockport, who was holding on by a thread in the Power 25. Shoot, I'm gonna keep it going. So another one that I saw was on Saturday. Jacobs defeated Hananega, and 2026 George Donzi. He's a Wisconsin Stevens Point commit. He's a starter for Jacobs. He went the distance, striking out 11 while only allowing 1 earned on 4 hits. And the reason that stood out to me so much was I saw George and Jacobs play down at the Kickoff Classic in their first game of the year. He was absolutely dominant. Went basically 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs, and was pitching at like an 85% strike ratio, and just carved up the team he was facing. So to see him kind of back up that performance, do it again, like Jacobs there has a really, really quality arm in George Donzi, and wanted to shout him out. And I'll turn it over to you guys here.
Another thing that came across our desk was Jay Thompson got his 950th win. So that puts him, according to the IHSA website, second all time. And I mean, they're playing today, so he very well could become standalone second all time, because right now he's tied. So Just a historic career over there for Jay Thompson. 950 career wins is pretty incredible. Because I mean, what's Napoleon at 1,000 on the dot? So just some insane numbers, and happy for that guy. Got to meet him last year for the first time, and he's definitely one of those coaches where you remember him, remember meeting him, talking to him. So one to root for sure.
Also on Saturday, Geneva took down Buffalo Grove. And Drew, this is kind of part of the reason why I was so bummed when you took Geneva, because as good of an arm Mason Breach is, who, 2027 going to Michigan State, what he can do with the bat for Geneva is also really impressive. In that game against Buffalo Grove, they won 12-0. But he went 3 for 4 with 2 homers, a triple, and 4 RBIs. So he's definitely not a one-trick pony. He can definitely contribute with the bat. So shout out to Geneva and shout out to Drew for taking them in our draft a couple weeks ago.
I'll shout out hometown alma mater, Crystal Lake South, getting the 23-8 win over Woodstock yesterday. Leadoff hitter Carson Trevelini, he's going to Illinois. He had 2 doubles, 3 runs scored, an RBI, and a walk. Jackson Lee and Nick Stohauser both hit a grand slam. Jackson Lee had 2 runs and a walk. Stohauser also had 2 doubles and 3 runs scored. And then Nolan Dabrowski is a River Falls commit. He had 2 hits, 3 runs scored, and a walk.
I was just going to add a little color here to that Jay Thompson nugget that you mentioned, Pete. So we had actually done a story on the top 10 active wins leaders among coaches in Illinois back in 2024, kind of as one of our year-end stories. And Jay Thompson was listed in here. At the time, he had 920 career victories, but that put him third all-time on the career wins list, but it was the most wins in Illinois for somebody at a single school. I don't know if I just worded that properly, but for staying at one school, he has the most wins. And then just some titles that he's claimed. He claimed a state title in 1989, and he's got 4 second-place finishes, 1991, 1992, 2003, and 2010. And then as well as a 4th-place finish back in 1995. So not only has he, been there a long time, gotten a number of wins, but he's no stranger to state as well.
But no, looking at some Diamond Note standouts, I mean, the one that I saw that I'll touch on is Brady Williams, a 2028 at Rock Island Alleman. He went 3 for 3 with 5 RBIs against St. Bede, and then 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs against Pearl City. So off to a good start at the plate there for Brady.
How about Jackson Tucker over at Oswego East? He broke Oswego East career home run record. And I think the crazy thing about that stat is he's only a junior. So he's still got, basically 2 full years left. And I think all of us, believe Jackson's bat's only going to get better. So let's see what that record ends up being by the time he graduates next year.
It's a great call. We're only 2 weeks into the season, and he already broke it.
And then just one last thing, James Duman at Glenbrook South. He recorded his 100th career hit. So shout out to James for that.
Yeah, he was one that, Pete, you mentioned how the player of the week was kind of a tough call. A lot of weeks it is a very, very tough call and could go to anyone. I think for us, Jackson Tucker, really impressive week, but James Duman, I felt like made it probably the toughest between him and Tyler Gluting. He went 8 for 10 with 6 walks, a double, 3 triples, which really stood out to us. A home run, 8 RBIs, 7 runs scored, and a stolen base. So one of those just tough calls you had to make. I think the amount of extra base hits that Gluting had really kind of separated it, but 875 OBP on the week, and just a monstrous week there for James Duman. And that's one of the reasons I love doing the Diamond Notes, is highlighting these guys that very, very easily could be a player of the week.